Oh, the Occupy Democrats sources, including FBI, have roles with Channel 3 News, WFSB in Connecticut, and Fox Connecticut News, and the difference of guilt there or the intelligence next to them. The same thing with WTNH and their sources and where they live. At a corner of a street, one of their sources has their kids and adults who planted evidences at a corner of a street of a principal child abusers campus, also involved with Russians and Ukraine at Central Connecticut State University and at Trinity College and at UConn, a violent family, also involved with some murders and untimely deaths and body dumping spots, with my neighbors involved with them with stacking fake ties to kids at police stations. And the kids who went there to speak with the police, they put them collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, all kinds of identity theft, fraud, slanders, fake ties, fake natures of ties to people. They have roles with plants next to campuses who relative where and how good people stay evil. And then they pretend that us into fake conversations about themselves too, and they pretend on a mass scale. These are a bunch of people at Hartford Hospital with the FBI, involved also at other campuses, in other medical and fire campuses, with drugs and medicines crimes, with the FBI too, with Twitter, and with Doge. On Twitter with the principal upskirt nature since before he was caught, and then after it too. With the FBI has more upskirt pictures on Twitter, roles between campuses also with names next to them. Also, that Paul Kelly is one of the ones involved with neighbors of his, with sexual and medical offenses of kids, with people in the Air Force, the Marines, the Navy, all along Route 175 and its conjunctions are people on all Central Connecticut State University who have time collusions to planting evidences at and next to boxing campuses with people at boxing gyms too, tied to the same house with wire crimes with the Wethersfield police, and one's tied to them and conversations with them through the year. A whole bunch of people are against free speech unless they're repeating what other people say. The differences between Republican themed and Democratic themed voices is also being and have been exploited. That's recorded. We have worse than criminal incompetence with the identities of the people of the sciences A through Z, because at campuses A through Z, you guys blamed other things, others ourselves, for things that nature was communicating to us and that our founders communicated to us about black people's whites of eyes, for example. Things so simple. Uh, a whole bunch of people with the intelligence community sought me out, record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. They're people with the name Kerr and Perron, and also involved with Hartford Hospital with identity theft, fraud, slanders with former mayors. They tried to take a picture of me, and there are proofs that they took a picture to make a fake tie to me, so they can pretend or fake nature. In other words, they're planting evidences. The only time I know that I saw them, so they have to pretend other and bring things before cases criminally. That's why they can't refuse. They won't get on paper. Interbranch. I went to the court many times. They won't get on paper since I was a kid. These are increasing people between private schools, public schools, fire campuses, and colleges and universities with a whole bunch of different countries at the same time. There are little families and cliques with the bordering countries and the bordering states that run into high line progressions, where how they are shown needs and means to by a breaching method that has roles with predicate acts with facts on a mass scale, black pupils. In other words, a lot of crimes were against the people of New York City who did crimes, including ones of violence. There are people involved with violence with the interbranch who have roles with foreign and domestic and a whole bunch of criminal enterprises actually. And their fellow is just undercover. They're changing and faking everything that comes before them. The people who are hard, in other words, and then with the Democratic and Republican thought, you guys with the inside the nature of debate, the nature of debates, you guys have quality aspects in nature you can't defend and afford to be. What our founders communicated. Our founders communicated for us to understand that James Madison and his plan to refer to him singular. His plan they used plural, and we were also directed president slash chief. But they didn't. Our founders, and then even as a president, James Madison still didn't have free speech. In other words, you guys get it worse than wrong when you speak for the Monroe Doctrine. Can't even get Madison right. How you didn't get that right? North and South was still entrenched with slavery. You don't vote on slavery. It was an entrenched breaching method, a fact treatment nature breaching method, a torture, extortion, slavery method against every single person. Sickly distinctly, too, to measure and maintain. How sickly non-distinctly, while it was being and is being demonstrated to us as a value by nature itself and by our founders, no one's going to express it. They were seeking out who our founders were, which is distinct from our presidents. No one allows honesty about the first one. George Washington, it would have brought up how he was using James Madison's plan. Black pupils. So Connecticut's Channel 3 News attached me to fake conversations with them, themselves and with others, as their collusions with all natures of crime scenes and campuses, also with the security of the campuses through administrations. Sandy Hook also has on-off the state corrections offices and on-off the state judicial branch offices, and a bunch of people with the Institute of Living on the campus of Hartford Hospital, all kinds of sexual and medical offenders of kids, with retired police chiefs and their intimate ties with the same house, and one's tied to them, where they are now and where they used to be. People with the name O'Brien and DeSimone, also with wire crimes, also with a phone game, and with exceptions. In other words, I don't even know all their names. There's a Denise DeSimone, and there's a Brendan DeSimone, and a John DeSimone. And I believe that's the same name as his father. I don't know the mother's name. Never met. In other words, these are people with Newington police departments and intelligence agencies, like with and people associated with other countries, like with Dearborn Street in Newington and a park near there. And Eric Jensen recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed he has roles with investigators, his educators, and places he worked with planting evidences all along Route 175, also with the Justin Klavinskis. He sought me out with others to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm. Justin Klavinskis is involved with him and his neighbors all along Route 175 with other people too, like a Kevin Caron and a Mark Caron, putting fake ties, fake nature ties to me, acting where they act on both sides, where they pretend to fight each other and have people looking and have it look like fake ties, fake nature ties to me. These are people also with the Kerr and Perron, next to Fox Connecticut News, next to WFSB, as rules with codependents, a former director of the FBI, which is next to the WTNH, which also has their sources along Route 175, involved with wire crimes and mail crimes with other news companies and with themselves from the backgrounds. They have more people involved with the state corrections offices and judicial branch offices. With teachers, one of the teachers confessed, Lance Cuddy is involved. And she's also involved with abusers of the kid, of a Mr. Murphy. I don't know if he's related to Chris Murphy, but these are people also with a Brian Silver and a Judge Smith with New Britain Superior Court, with people with the town lines involved with predicate acts with kids, sexual and medical offenders of kids, a Leahy family fake conversations with me and ties to me into databases since I was a kid. They don't know me at all. They have collusions. I don't know if they did it, if they were one of the ones when I was a kid. It was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by others in other ways. They lied about fake ties to my family too, and lied about legal cases. They have collusions with an NLRB case with various unions and former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants and their family members, also at Trinity College, Central Connecticut State University, with names next to campuses I went. Each of the campuses I went and names next to them have roles with timed identity, theft, fraud, slanders, predicate acts with facts, and acting tied to that. They'll tell you. In other words, you have to ask them correctly because they'll tell you other too because they're influenced to pretend they use the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie on mass scale. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, is involved with sequence shifts and cover-ups with a whole bunch of people tied to as James Comey. Right through administrations, they put fake conversations with me too. A Leahy family is one of the ones involved with multiple courts, personally and professionally, and they're refusing to identify themselves with Wethersfield police, forging and switching names that have roles with the Saudi attackers. Forced. I don't even know their names. It doesn't matter. I know that they're recorded with WFSB, fake conversations. The Whiting Forensics also has people with the name O'Neill involved. Intercities through time, intra-cities. A bunch of people tied to and as a Joseph Dennis and a John Dennis are also all along Route 175, Wethersfield, Newington, and West Hartford, having went out of their way to make fake ties, fake natures of ties. I never saw them inside the campuses. Any of the Dennis family. In other words, they have roles of intelligence, various courts, and their family members next to the campuses at the same time. Collusions with proven child abusers, leaders of kids, and relative syntax. On a mass scale, people are saying and doing things at locations. Then there are arrests where they're screening their own collusion / us with the crime scenes and other names involved, including the scientific value of the human fact nature breaching method involved, that which our founders communicated about through declassified and other ways, and nature itself shows us. A breaching method reassigned with black people's whites of eyes communicate. And there are people who have mass theories formally accepted that are appreciated too, that are appreciated with criminally foreign influence quality aspects in nature and delusions. That wouldn't be had, if you guys would follow mandated law. That they put me in fake conversations about murders intercities with my family as one of the crime that I don't even have to know about the conversation I'm talking about. They do that crime method where they switch officers, arresting officers' names, and they tell lies to family members where they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes that tells them that they can lie to people, and about people, but they lie about their motivations. Even if they don't realize, that's why they need to follow mandated law, get on paper, one name and sequence. New Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts, and the Connecticut District Court have roles with sexual and medical offenders and methods that they prevent writing, and they keep stacking predicate acts with facts, collusions with such natures of organized crimes and others. Untimely death roles they have with a Joshua Julian, a Joshua Stryker, and Joshua Schumack with the Wethersfield police chiefs retired and their intimate ties tied to the same house, increasingly involved with falsified police reports, identity theft, frauds, slanders, wire crime acts and methods with them. The FBI has rules of wire crime acts and methods, whole digital crime acts and methods with Whiting Forensics, with Fox Connecticut News against Judge Napolitano, but making him have self-valued roles. And that's an outcome that is also because there are foreign bodies involved. All the countries involved with Judge Napolitano's conversations, even the border of Town Line Drive and Southstein Highway has the owners, the differences of the guilt of the owners of those businesses and the people that work for them, like with the mobile gas station and the business across the street from them, through different ownerships too. These are also with the people with the news. Increasingly, they have roles with, like, people involved with scuba diving, tied to a Brian Silver and a scuba shack on the Southstein Highway, and a Rick Cianfaglione with the judges and prosecutors involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and sexual and medical offenders of little boys and girls, with a Leahy family, personally intercities with them, next to campuses planting evidences, corners of streets with Russians and Americans too, increasingly. And they have Ukraine too at Hartford Hospital. Rick Cianfaglione is also with the businesses and houses next to Hartford Hospital, also with the Justin Klavinskis and his narrative about Justin Klavinskis putting a fish hook through his nose. So you have these little coward punks that are spreading lies about themselves and others through the background. They also have their roles with foreign and domestic military, having people act both sides, and they're filming fake things. as people would like a Joshua, also Eric Alveri. Whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital lied about themselves and me with my neighbors involved with the wire crimes and falsified police reports and the interbranch switching and forging names, judges speaking fake things into records with, as recorded proofs of their kids and family members involved with the same house with drugs and medicines crimes, wire crime, whole mail crime methods, wire crime methods, attached me to fake conversations with Weathersfield police at the police station when I was a kid. Wasn't at all. And as an adult, at least I was down there. I didn't have one word of conversation with one officer there. The two Mendez police brothers are involved with that, with a whole bunch of other ones since they were kids involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, falsified police reports, with medical offenders and child offenders of kids, including sexual, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones at the same time. Their uses of their own differences and other, including cultural. Out of your minds. Get me off the fake conversation with the Mendez brothers and have them repent and get the names of the security with the campuses on paper. And I want a response from the medical people too. Hartford Hospital, get them on paper, one name in sequence. Get me off the fake conversation with the Slahy family too, and get them on paper with the judges of the various courts and the prosecutors tied to them personally, and make sure that Judge Napolitano hears this. Hurry up!